Endeavour ISS, this is JSC PAO. How do you hear me?
Rob, we have you loud and clear.
Good to see you, Ron, and the rest of the crew, and we have questions here in Houston.
Hi, this is Robert Perlman with CollectSpace.com with a question for Mark Kelly. This is, of course, the final flight of Space Shuttle Endeavour, but it's coming just before the 40th anniversary of another spacecraft named Endeavour flying to the moon on Apollo 15, and while a rover, Opportunity, is making its way to a crater named Endeavour on Mars. With that in mind, how would you place your mission and the missions of Space Shuttle Endeavour into the larger context of humanity's space exploration endeavors?
Well, there's also a ship going around Australia right now commemorating the ship Endeavour that did one of the first voyages to circumnavigate Australia. So, you know, it's pretty significant. The Space Shuttle's been the workhorse of the U.S. space program for over 30 years now, and it's been an incredible success. We've never built anything that can do what the Space Shuttle can do, carry that tremendous mass to orbit, bring stuff back, do spacewalks, robotic operations. I mean, it's what literally built the space station. So to retire the Space Shuttle is pretty significant. In the last flight, you know, it's bittersweet, but I think it's time, you know, that we move on and do something, you know, equally exciting. Build a new vehicle and maybe go to new destinations.
Thanks. And for Mike Fink, you'll soon hold the record for the most time in space by a U.S. astronaut, but by the all-time list, you'll still rank, I believe, 20th behind 19 Russian cosmonauts. As our longest-traveled space explorer and an experienced space station crew member, do you feel there's a value to extending the length of individual crew members' ISS expeditions for going in preparation for going further out into the solar system?
That's a great question. It's certainly an honor to get a chance to fly up in space, and you know, especially for long periods of time. And I think any records that are happening now, even the greatest, you know, on the Russian side of 804 days, that's all going to be long forgotten when humans really start to explore the solar system, especially with some of the new vehicles that NASA's going to come up with. So it's I think in preparation for that, you know, 6 months at a time, it seems to be what seems to be working now for the space station. Anything longer than that's going to be a little bit tougher, but I think we can live up here relatively indefinitely. You know, a year mission's not out of the question aboard the space station. It'd be a lot more interesting to spend a year going to Mars, however.
This is Gerhard Daum with the German Space Agency and Space Export Association. Question for Box. You are the prime operator of the SMRMS. What was your most challenging robotics task, and what was it like working at the robotics station in the cupola with that view to Earth?
Well, Gerhard, I'll tell you what. The cupola was everything that I had heard from other people times 10. It's a magnificent view. You have a view of literally half of the space station operating from the cupola. Some of the robotic ops that we did on EVA-2 didn't even need any cameras. You could just look out the window. A lot of the robotic ops that we're doing on this mission are located on the other side of the station. For example, when we installed AMS and ELC-3, so the advantage of the cupola wasn't apparent as far as looking out the window, but just as a place to be, as a place to operate the robotic arm, it was a wonderful, and it is a wonderful, wonderful place to be.
Thank you. Question for the spacewalkers, Drew and Mike. For Drew, you performed 3 EVAs, kind of a surgery, on the final Hubble servicing mission, and 3 on this ISS mission. What are the major differences executing the EVAs on Hubble and the station, and what were the most difficult and most exciting moments?
Well, Gerhard, thanks. That's a good question and a tough one to answer. I can tell you that each of the EVAs were challenging, and I can tell you that now after 3 days of being outside, I'm pretty worn out, and my hands are very tired as well, and I don't know that I'd be ready to go out tomorrow like Mike and Greg are going to. But the differences, of course, are that Hubble is very close to our airlock, and we don't have to travel far into the payload bay to reach it and perform the tasks. And of course, with Space Station, we traverse over long distances, and especially in the dark, it's very easy to get a little bit disoriented and sometimes lost. And I know I went the wrong way a few times, at least briefly, trying to understand really where I was headed. So, but the work is challenging. Fortunately, the space station was built to be serviced by astronauts. Hubble was not built really that way, although we have performed many servicing missions to it. So the tasks are just as challenging. I worked just as hard. In fact, I think harder with all the activities we had, and we're just happy to be done with 3 successful spacewalks and looking forward to a 4th.
And for Mike, you performed 6 EVAs in the Russian Orlan spacesuit during Expedition 9 and 18. On this mission, you executed 2 of your 3 planned EVAs in the US EMU spacesuit. What are the advantage and disadvantage of each type of spacesuit, and are the tasks easier to execute in either the Russian or the US suit?
That's a great question. I've had the privilege of being in the Russian suit, and I like it very much. The Orlan is pressurized to about 6 pounds per square inch, or 0.4 atmospheres. It's a very serviceable suit, and we don't have to spend a long time getting ready. The pre-breathe time is relatively short. And the American suit is more mobile because it runs at a lower pressure, but that means we have a long pre-breathe time, and it takes a longer time to get ready. However, both suits are great for what they do. It's great to go out in space and go on a spacewalk, but I think every spacewalk that I've been on is really tough. Spacewalks are not easy at all.
Hi, Denise Chow at Space.com. A question for Mark Kelly. The past 2 days, NASA has made some big announcements in terms of a development plan for a vehicle for deep space exploration and a sample return mission to an asteroid. And I was curious as to what your reaction was to the announcements.
Well, we didn't see. I mean, we don't have a lot of time to look at a lot of news here. We did get the announcement on the multi-purpose crewed vehicle that Lockheed Martin, originally it was Orion, and now it's that design is going to be used to, hopefully one day come back to the space station and do some other things. So we're pretty excited about it. Within the astronaut office, I worked Orion stuff before I was assigned to STS-134. I think it's a good vehicle, it's a good design, and hopefully folks from our office will be flying it one day.
And a question for Ron Guerin. What has it been like living on the space station with the construction pretty well complete, and also before Dmitry, Katie, and Paolo left? What was it like being on the station with the pretty full house?
Well, I was here 3 years ago, and it was a big place then, and it's a even bigger place now. It's a wonderful place to live and work. It's a wonderful perspective we have on the planet up here, and the science that we're doing on board, I think is really going to make a big difference on the Earth. I think when I was here last time, we were just getting the science going, and it's really starting to ramp up now. And we've got world-class laboratories throughout the complex here that are really going to, I think, make some breakthroughs. And it really, this is a tremendous investment in the future of our planet and the future of humanity, and it's really neat to be a part of that, and to see all these years of construction finally, the result of that coming to fruition is really nice.
Mark Carreau for Aviation Week. I have a question for the shuttle crew. I'm wondering how much professional responsibility, even pressure, you feel to do all you can to place the space station in the best possible footing before the shuttle retires.
Yeah, that's a very good question, and it very much is a big part of our mission. I mean, this is the last flight really before the station is considered assembly complete. Much of what we have up here, we're bringing some logistics, but we've installed some external spare equipment, during this mission, and the whole point of that is to make sure that there's longevity for the station without the shuttle for many years to come, hopefully to 2020 and well beyond. Without the shuttle, as Mark mentioned earlier, It's very hard to bring things up that go externally and bring things down, and there will be the possibility to do spacewalks, of course, from the airlock in the station, but the servicing of the space station is going to be more difficult. And although we do have other vehicles from other countries, ATV and HTV and Progress for supply, bringing things down that are not working to figure out how to repair them or how to improve them will be a little more difficult. But this is very important, and it's really the point of everything we're doing now is trying to make sure the space station is well positioned to handle a full crew of 6 and enable it to do the science that it's designed to do. That'll carry us forward.
Hi, it's Bill Harwood with CBS News, and Greg, you can keep the mic. I'll ask you this question. We were talking the other day about how it's been 27 years since the space station program was approved, and I remember talking to Bill Shepard in the early 90s about the wall of EVA and all the concern about doing this, and you guys are getting ready to do the last shuttle EVA in all that time as assembly comes down. Can somebody, I don't know, reflect on how far NASA has come in developing this EVA capability that you've used to build the station?
Well, that's a good point that you've made, and certainly being able to perform spacewalks is critical to the life of the space station, and we've seen that on every shuttle mission and many of the space station expeditions that have been here, the requirement to perform EVAs. If we didn't have that capability, the station certainly would not be able to last as long as we plan for it to last. And also, I think that the capability to do spacewalks has something to do with certification longer than what original plans are. So to be able to maintain that's just a part of life, to work and live in space. We will always have to have the ability to go out and put our hands onto objects, and we've certainly seen that, and I can reflect back on the Hubble Space Telescope. It would never have lasted as long as it has, nor would it have will it last into the future without the assistance of humans in the loop with tools in their hands going out to perform the work, because number one, many of those tasks are critical and have to be performed in very short order, and we just don't have the capability right now with robotics or other devices, any other capability to get out there and get the work done. So the spacewalking is critical. The ability to get outside and do the work is important. And on the last EVA, for EVA 3, of course, we tested out a new protocol, pre-breathe protocol, which allows us to have sort of a normal morning, spend less time on oxygen masks, and be able to get outside without the additional pre-planning that we've had in the past that required camping out in the airlock overnight at a reduced pressure. So the capabilities are important for the longevity of space station, and folks back at the centers on Earth have been working to advance those capabilities and expedite our capability to get outside and do the work that we need to do when it's required.
Let me ask Mike Fink a related question, if I could. On Friday, you guys are going to go over 1,000 hours in EVA time during assembly of ISS, or more than 40 days, which is either an incredible milestone, or maybe it's just a trivial milestone. I don't know. How do you look at that, 1,000 hours of EVA time? Thanks.
Yeah, 1,000 hours, that's pretty impressive. In fact, we had concerns when we were first designing the space station of how much time EVA, zero-G EVA time it would take. Up at that point, we weren't really as experienced with EVA. The shuttle program paved the way with some of the earlier EVAs, getting our extravehicular mobility unit, EMU, up and running, and then getting it to really shine. Some of the tools and techniques that came along for space station building are very helpful. The stints that we did at Hubble Space Telescope, we still use some of those tools to this day for the space station. So we've really come a long way with spacewalking. We've learned a lot from our Russian partners, and they've learned a lot from us. And the new suits that we have and their capabilities allow us to do longer spacewalks. I don't think anybody 10, 20, 30 years ago would imagine that we would have so many 8-hour spacewalks, even like the one we had just this week.